Newsline.
Thanks, Serge. And with the latest on house prices and other business news, we cross to Belle Smith. And what's the latest in the Australian housing market, Belle?
Well, Lexi, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics' latest housing numbers released yesterday, home loan approvals have plunged to a 10-year low. Now, only 16% of home finance over the last month, well actually in March, was due to first home buyers. And this is bad news for borrowers because this puts pressure on the federal bank to the Reserve Bank to raise interest rates to curb inflation and also the cost of goods and services. Now, earlier this month, Glenn Stevens, the Governor of the Reserve Bank, said that he didn't think that Australia's housing market was really that high up on his list of worries. However, these latest figures will be quite interesting to see what he says in response.
And Belle, it's not just the housing market that's experiencing a lack of confidence at the moment.
That's right, Serge. The inaugural survey by the National Australia Bank of the top 300 Australian Security Exchange listed businesses has shown that large corporations are quite pessimistic about the next quarter. This is despite the fact that they generally ride out fluctuations in the market better than smaller businesses, and also over the last 3 months reported a drop of 0.8% in retail. Not surprisingly, the mining sector is the most confident, but the least confident ones are in retail and manufacturing.
And community workers had a big win yesterday?
They did, Lexi, indeed. Fair Work Australia ruled that community sector workers and people working with disability are entitled to a pay rise of up to 25%. Fair Work also found that gender inequality contributed to this pay discrepancy, given that a higher proportion of females work within the community sector compared to the public sector. Now, the unions are quite happy about this ruling, as is Jobs Minister Chris Evans. However, a lot of employers are feeling a little bit of dismay at this, given that services may well be cut to accommodate this extra spending. In addition, especially in Tasmania, where their budget is already in the red, the Tasmanian Premier said that a lot of services may be cut as well, and also that a pay rise, if it does come into practice, will have to be eased in gradually.
Thanks, Belle. Coming up after the break, the latest in sport and weather and CrossFit, Melbourne's new fitness craze.
Welcome back to Newsline. If you're into extreme fitness without the need to buy lots of expensive equipment, our next story should tick all the boxes. As Adrian Black reports, CrossFit started with the US military and has taken off across the world.
A new, incredibly demanding fitness craze is gaining popularity in Melbourne. It's called CrossFit, and although practitioners swear by it as being more addictive than smoking and tougher than Chuck Norris, there have been concerns over the risks of injury involved.
Here I am, standing on Inkerman Street in front of one of Melbourne's many CrossFit gyms. The building behind me could easily be mistaken for a local garage or packaging factory, but inside, CrossFit trainers are undergoing some of the most physically and mentally demanding tasks of any exercise today. But what is CrossFit?
Its so-called back-to-basics exercise routines include Olympic weightlifting, distance running in weighted vests, and burpee counts into the hundreds. We spoke to Jules Burgermeister, CrossFit trainer and myotherapist, and Paris Little, one of his fellow trainers at CrossFit St Kilda.
There's a few ways that you can explain it. The first and the most common way would be constantly varied functional movements performed at a high intensity. It could be gymnastics, Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, metabolic conditioning, so like running, rowing, stuff like that.
Gordon Lynch, Professor of Physiology at the University of Melbourne, is a specialist in clinical myology and muscular disease, a certified strength and conditioning expert and a fellow of the American College of Sports Medicine.
There are risks with all types of exercise. This is the thing, we need to promote exercise because exercise should be part of a healthy lifestyle to enjoy quality of life in the best way we can. When you do something very challenging and you're not prepared for it, in particular, a very challenging exercise like CrossFit, things can go wrong. The idea with the sort of training with CrossFit should be a gradual increase in intensity.
Paris Little agrees.
So if people who've come from a background of sitting at a desk and built up a lot of problems with their body already and then go to perform things and execute the exercises incorrectly, then there's definitely a danger and risk of injury for sure.
It's clear that CrossFit trainers won't be slowing down anytime soon. Adrian Black, Newsline.
Thanks, Adrian. Melbourne's roads are rapidly seeing more and more bicycles battling for space with cars and trucks. And increasingly, the bikes we're seeing are so-called fixies, or fixed-wheel bikes. Here's Nick Fogarty reporting on the cool and controversial Fixie Brigade.
Fixed-wheel bicycles have traditionally been confined to organised racing on banked tracks, such as the Brunswick Velodrome. With no brakes and the inability to freewheel, fixies carry connotations of danger and excitement. It is partly this danger that has led to the emergence of a new subculture.
A lot of people ride fixies because it's badass. Like, it's the same reason an 18-year-old takes up smoking. It's dumb, but it's also kind of dangerous and therefore cool.
Fixies are also popular due to their streamlined look, with many riders choosing to personalise or build their bike from scratch.
I definitely think there's been a shift in like the culture behind the fixed gear bikes. I think that the best way to describe that is sort of maturing of that market.
Victoria Police agree that while the fixie craze is overwhelmingly positive for Melbourne's culture, safety issues remain.
Myself and representing Victoria Police, we have no issues with the fixies. We're quite happy to see them out there as long as they've got that one brake.
The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission last year released a bulletin warning that fixed-wheel bikes may not comply with Australian mandatory safety standards. Even some enthusiasts agree that fixies may sometimes be difficult to control on the roads.
It might look cool having no brakes, but yeah, we're just thinking about what can go wrong because it does happen.
The fixies at the time that we started to see weren't fitting that criteria, and obviously they're being supplied by someone, so that's why the ACCC has come out and said, well, you know, if you're going to sell them, this is what you should be looking out for.
Despite these restrictions, the sense of fulfilment gained by riders remains strong.
But yeah, it's given me a lot, you know, just from a seemingly innocuous thing of trying out a friend's bike and going, yeah.
With clubs and bike shops dedicated to fixed wheel appreciation all over the world, this subculture appears unlikely to slow down soon. Nick Fogarty, Newsline.
Thanks, Nick. Now we are joined by Greta Bowyer with Today's Sport. What's the latest with Jobe Watson's injury?
Hi Lexi. Well, unfortunately Essendon has more bad news. Today they released a statement saying Jobe Watson is out for the next 2 rounds due to a confirmed sprain in his hamstring. This is not good for Essendon, as they've been kicking along quite nicely, and the skipper is most definitely a pivotal part of this team, and he will be missing this week's Dreamtime match against Richmond. Also, he'll probably be out for the future round 11. There is a positive though. Watson is continuing to poll very highly on the Brownlow Stakes and is also keeping his lead as the Age Player of the Year. And a sad note, there has been some sad things happening in the AFL today. We've lost one of our greats, Bob Davis, who captained the Geelong 1951 and 1952 premiership sides and is also a Hall of Famer. He passed away in his home today.
And Greta, some interesting news has come to light regarding Sam Stosur's loss at the Rome Masters.
Our poor Sammy, she was slammed by Sharapova, but it has been released today by her press people that Sam was unwell during the match and was feeling emotions of nausea and did actually take medication during the game to keep on going. She has undergone tests and these details will later be released so we can find out whether she'll be fit and fighting for the French Open.
And Casey Stoner's victory on the weekend has been somewhat sullied.
Yes, it has. He's a naughty boy, that Casey. He's won his second Le Mans this week, which is obviously the world famous circuit for motorbikes. However, his winning has not been all good, as he was fined €5,000 for bad sportsmanship. Casey actually was reported to have hit one of his competitors, the competitor's name being Randy DePune, during a warm-up. Apparently Randy got in his way and Casey wasn't too happy about this. This does sully his victory a little bit, and we always like to see good sportsmen in Australia.
Thank you, Greta. And now to today's weather. Partly cloudy and 17 in Melbourne, also cloudy and 17 in Geelong. We'll see the same weather patterns tomorrow in both cities, partly cloudy with a maximum of 17. And that's all we have time for in Newsline today. Thank you for your company.
And we do hope that you can join us again at the same time tomorrow for Newsline. Thank you and have a great night.